Hey everyone, welcome to Thought Leaders Cafe. Today we are going to be talking about personal security. It is very important to understand what's happening around you, especially with artificial intelligence. There is deep fake and a lot of scams are getting sophisticated. We need to protect ourselves. And I am meeting Greg today. He is an expert on this topic and he has his own training programs. He helps senior citizens to learn about the digital safety. I'm really excited to talk to him. When I met him last time before this actual podcast recording, he shared a lot of insights with me, some things that I myself didn't know, something that I do and I didn't know it was unsafe. So there's a lot to unpack. Let's get in. Hey, Greg, welcome to my show, Thought Leaders Cafe.
Hi, Aruna. Good to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, Greg. We all talk about personal safety, but what it means for everyone is different. Like for example, for me, personal safety is just installing Simply Safe at home. It could be beyond. After I spoke with you, there's a lot of things that we don't even think about. I am really excited to talk about personal safety today.
Yeah, I break personal safety down into kind of four major areas. And some of these are like, as software developers, we don't think about. The one we all think about most obviously is physical safety, keeping your body safe, from
Yeah.
muggers and, attackers, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Another one is cybersecurity. We do a lot of that in our day job and then turn around and, don't put a PIN code on your mobile device or just all kinds of cybersecurity things.
Right.
Another one is financial safety, that is not falling for scams. And unfortunately, scams are getting a lot more sophisticated because of AI. There's a lot of times where you would normally not fall for it, but it just seems so realistic and you end up. And then finally is operational safety. And that's not putting out too much information so that it's so easy to attack you in the other areas. People take their bank statements and throw them in the trash.
Oh, wow.
That's a real good opportunity to go find out absolutely everything about somebody. So
Yeah, it has everything about you, right? So what got you into personal safety? Let's take you through a journey, like where you
yeah,
began, what got you interested.
Yeah, so I'm a software developer, spent a long career doing that. And as kind of a side hobby, I started getting into kind of the self-defense arts. I'm a firearms instructor. I've always kind of had an interest in that sort of thing. I was an information security manager at Oracle, so learned a whole lot about phishing and, social engineering, that kind of stuff. Uh, had a friend of the family that got scammed. She fell for the Microsoft tech support scam. People
Mhm.
may not be aware of that one, but someone calls you on the phone and says, "Hi, I'm from Microsoft tech support, and we noticed that your computer is running slowly." Well, yeah, everyone who runs Windows has
Yeah,
a computer that runs slowly.
yeah,
Uh, and we'd like to help you out. And it's like, well, the first sign is Microsoft never calls anybody to help them out.
right.
Heck, you can't even get them to return your call. So,
Mhm.
but we'd like to help you out. And to do that, I will guide you through setting up some support software so that I can take remote control of your computer and
Mhm.
install some software to make your computer go faster. And she did this and they drained her bank account.
Oh my God.
And
Mm.
and she's a bit elderly and it was not possible. She didn't want to tell anybody about it. She was embarrassed when it happened. So it took about 3 weeks before someone found out, and then it was just not possible to do anything because the money's
Mhm.
gone. They had access to your account. Uh, the State Bureau of Investigation can look into it, but most likely this came from overseas, and there was nothing to be done about it. It was like, why didn't she ask somebody? Because like I've always been kind of the tech support guy in my family. So somebody's computer breaks, they call me to say, "Hey, what do you think about how to fix this?" Yeah, okay, I'll do this. um, Everybody's a developer. Everybody just assumes
Yeah,
we know how to fix that stuff.
yeah.
But she didn't ask anybody. It's because she was embarrassed.
Mhm.
But what's happening is older people are using computers and mobile phones at a very high rate right now. It's something
Mhm,
like 80% of people over the age of 65 are very active on the internet and,
mhm.
are using mobile phones and tablets, and yet they're not as aware as younger people might be aware of the dangers about social engineering and phishing and
Yeah.
those sorts of things. Uh, and they're afraid to ask. So I kind of got into this kind of mission of I want to educate people about their
Nice.
personal safety.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
let's not walk around on Main Street, in the dark with our all our attention focused on a cell phone. You see that all the time. People just walk down the street and they're looking at their cell phone and they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. Or let's learn some kind of basic cybersecurity stuff, like how to
Mhm.
lock down our machines. And let's not, someone just hands us a memory stick or we
Mhm.
find one in a restaurant that someone left. Don't just plug that into your computer.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, I heard this is actually a very widespread scam. You would find USB drive somewhere, it's just
Yes,
planted all over the world. And if you get curious and you just go plug it into your computer, that's it. It steals all your data.
any USB device will work. So like they'll leave a mouse out and
Hmm.
people are like, oh, cool, a new mouse. And they'll just plug that USB stick into their computer and start using the
Yeah.
mouse. And all of a sudden they've installed a keylogger. You know,
Yeah. Wow. Let's break down. You were talking about four different aspects of the personal security, right? Let's start with the first one, the physical one.
okay.
Yeah. So, what is your take on enhancing our personal safety?
So the first thing to think about is situational awareness. And, it is much better to avoid a situation than to try to learn to fight yourself out of it. So situational awareness includes things like think a few steps ahead. You
Mm,
know, it, uh, I'm going to someone's office and I've never been to that area before. So I
mhm,
pull my car into the parking lot and I find a parking space that's as close as possible that is really, really crowded.
mhm,
All right, well, if I get out of my car, I've got blind spots everywhere
mm,
because I'm right in the most crowded part of the parking lot. And someone could very well be waiting for
mhm,
someone to pull into that spot. So why not park a little bit farther out? But now I can get out of the car and take a look around. And first, take a look around before you get out of your car. Take a look
mhm.
around and then walking away looking to see is there anybody, crouching down or hiding in between the aisles, anything like that.
Mm,
Just a different way
mhm.
of looking at things that most people are just kind of with blinders on or an autopilot and walk right
Yeah,
up to it. Uh,
yeah. One challenge that I feel is if I'm going to a new place, then I'm a little more alert than some place where I've been to or used up
uh-huh.
doing every single day. It normalizes that feeling for me. That is when you turn off that the antenna on your head and you just feel comfortable because it's your space. You know it and you've done
Right.
that before. One of my friends was in a gas station just 2 or 3 weeks back, and she was just filling the gas and she has no idea how her laptop and her purse was stolen. And she came home and she realized, oh, there's no laptop or my bag. How did it happen? The only time which where she thought it happened was in the gas station, and she was on the side, of course, on the gas side, and she thinks that this person, the burglar, came in and opened the passenger side and then grabbed it and left. And she didn't even notice that
Yeah.
because you're just so comfortable in that environment. You're not alert in that environment. And she called all the banks immediately because she lost all her credit cards. And then she called her office and then blocked the laptop. And she did all of that. But still, her handbag had all of her ID cards with the information, SSN, and all of that in there. So that puts her at a risk of identity theft, right? So
Right.
she has been keeping a tab on her bank accounts and few other areas just to see if there is any abnormal activities or not. But that's very casual. I mean, like, even I would have been like that because it's gas station, right? You would not expect something like that to happen around there because there's so many people around you. If I'm in a parking lot where there's nobody around, it's night, then I'm looking around everywhere, checking, okay, is there somebody watching me and stuff? But if it's a daylight, I'm at a Costco parking lot, I wouldn't be thinking that. So how do you embed this thought as part of you? Like you don't get normalized because these guys are there everywhere.
Right. So this is called normalcy bias. And
Mm,
we have a tendency to go on autopilot,
mm,
and I'm in a familiar space. I'm just doing the same thing. I'm not looking around. There's, the color codes of awareness, through, white through red. Most people walk around in condition white, completely oblivious to what is going on. Uh,
mm,
that's kind of a bad idea. Uh,
mm,
you know, the next level is I'm aware of what's going on all around me, and I'm thinking about, okay, what happens if this happens? I'm
mm,
thinking a couple of steps ahead. If this happens, then I will do this.
mm,
I'm at the gas station and someone comes out of nowhere and asks me for money.
mm,
What am I going to do?
mm,
Something to think about that. It's interesting that you talked about a gas station because I often ask the question in these classes, what is the most dangerous place that you go to in a given week?
mm.
And the answer is usually a gas station
Oh, okay.
because it is a lot of opportunity to get some quick cash. People have valuables in their cars. I had this explained to me in a class I took one time from an ex-policeman. And he said, what's the absolute most dangerous gas station you can go to? And it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those mega gas stations right next to a highway.
Mm,
And he said, think about this. You're a junkie that just got out of a halfway house, you escaped, and you really need a fix. And for
mhm.
that, you need a vehicle and you need some money.
Yep.
Where's the easiest place to get to? It's one of those gas stations next to the highway. People roll up to these things, leave their car running, so the keys are in it with the door open, insert the, you know, nozzle into their gas tank, and then look at their cell phone while they're filling up.
Yep.
It's just so easy to just jump into that car and drive away.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's, or worse yet, incapacitate you, toss you in the back seat because now they
Mm,
have a hostage, and then drive away.
mm,
So how do you stop that sort of thing? And the answer is at a gas station, you need to be on high alert. It's
mhm,
not a place to be catching up on your email.
mm,
When you pull up to the gas pump, you take a look around,
mhm,
you get out of the vehicle with your keys, lock the doors because you don't want
mhm,
someone just jumping into the car and taking something. Don't leave the windows down so it's easy to get to.
mhm,
Keys are on you in your pocket. Fill
mhm,
up your tank and then put your back up against the hill so that you're looking around. That way,
mhm,
nobody can just jump up and surprise you. If someone does all of a sudden surprise you,
mhm.
what's the weapon that you have that's most handy?
It's my own hands.
You got a gas nozzle.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just
Okay.
pull that nozzle out and spray them down.
My hands was a joke, actually. I mean, I can't do anything with my hand. I call my
Yeah.
husband to do any heavy stuff in the kitchen. Yeah, what can I do? Yeah. So So what do I, okay, I can use anything that I have at that point of time, like a
Yes.
material that I hold on my hand. Okay, that's what's the idea. Okay. And
Yeah. And there's lots of kind of less than lethal type objects that you can have. Like one of the things that, there are people who are just not comfortable with guns or they live in a state where that's not possible. And it's like, okay, that's fine. A gun is by far the most effective tool, but there are other tools. A ballistic pen is a good option. It's just looks like a ballpoint pen, but it is hardened so
oh,
that, it'll write with a piece of paper and you can just keep it in your pocket, but it is hardened so that it's actually a pretty good defense instrument.
okay.
Uh, you
You
can,
just poke, like it's a pen, so you just poke.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
you can
okay.
just poke somebody with it, but it won't break apart when you
Okay.
hit them. It's on
Okay.
Amazon for like $15. Uh,
Okay.
you can use a stun gun, just
Hmm.
a little. tiny thing. It looks like a TV remote control,
Mm-hmm.
and it generates enough voltage that it will
Mm-hmm.
definitely get their attention. Clips on your belt, looks completely innocuous, legal in all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
A good option to have. Another one that we use is called a fast strike. It's a little flexible tube that will kind of curl up, and you can put it in your pocket or in your purse. And when it unwraps, it's a striking instrument. And it
Mm-hmm.
is strong enough. I mean, my wife demonstrates that she takes a piece of cardboard and you can cut cardboard with it pretty quickly.
Wow.
So
Okay.
one hit from a fast strike and your whole attitude is going to change. So
Oh.
uh, that
Okay.
those are things. A flashlight is
Mm.
an excellent. Yeah. It used to be in the old days, police all carried those big mag lights.
Mm-hmm.
They have 4D cell batteries in it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't because it was such a great light, but it was a very good baton that they could use in a quick emergency, so they could just strike with it. But now we have these small little LED lights, but they come with kind of pointy edges on the end so that they
Okay.
are built to be a striking weapon. So if you've got
Mm-hmm.
a flashlight clipped in your pocket, nobody really notices that. But
Mm-hmm.
first, it's very, very bright, so it disorients your attacker, and it's a pretty
Okay.
good striking weapon.
Okay.
So those are all kind of things that you can think about that give you some capability. But the most important thing is don't get in that position in the first place. Don't get to where you need to fight your way out of it.
Yeah.
To start with. And, so in the gas station situation, if you see somebody going from car to car, that's a good time to finish up your fill and go, right? You just
Okay.
don't want to have contact with them.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
Parking lots are another one
Mm.
where people approach you for money or things. They're really trying to feel you out. Like, are you going to comply when they ask you to do things? Are
Mm.
you going to be a good target?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had an incident several years ago before I really got into this self-defense stuff. Um, Pulled into a Sam's Club parking lot, was not really paying attention, and this guy comes up to me and says, "Hey man, can I have $5?" That's kind of the typical approach. And I didn't have any cash on me, and I'm like a really good-hearted person. Like I would probably just give him money if I had it, but I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. I pay with a card, and I just walked into the thing.
Mm.
Uh, Came out with a basket full of groceries. I'm putting them into the back of my truck. And that same guy is over interacting with another woman across the aisle in
Mm.
the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts screaming, "Let me go." And he's got her by the arm and she's trying to get into her car.
Oh. Okay.
And I stopped and just yelled at him and just said,
Mm-hmm.
"Leave her alone."
Mm-hmm.
And then he turned and he looked at me, and the expression on his face was, "I'm going to kill you."
Oh.
I mean, it was terrifying. Just that
Yeah.
those eyes were just something.
Yeah.
The woman jumped in her car, slammed her door, and the place in front of her was empty. She drove off. And I was like, good. She got away. And then he starts walking towards me.
Oh no.
And I was like, what do I do here? My
Mhm.
groceries, do I just run for the truck? Luckily, I had a concealed carry permit and I started to draw. I moved to clear my clothing and get my hand on the gun. And he recognized that action. He knew what that meant. And he just did a 90-degree turn and ran. And I was
Okay.
like, whoa. yeah.
Oh.
But I was like, I was almost in a position where I had to get the gun out and defend my life. And,
Okay.
should to do it over again, what should I have done? Should I have yelled and gotten involved in that? Well, I mean, she got away and I didn't have to do anything, but
Yeah.
it could have been really bad the other way.
Yeah.
He could have started running at me with a knife and maybe I can't get the gun out in time. Maybe I end up shooting him, but it's on camera and it looks bad. So
Yeah.
I go to prison. Uh,
Yeah.
so just, things to think about before you get involved in another, situation.
Yeah. A lot could
People
have
are,
gone wrong. Yeah. A
yeah,
lot
people
could
have
have
a lot of
gone wrong.
bravado about it. Oh, I would have just stopped him right then. And it's like, it's a life-changing thing to have
Yeah.
happen to you.
Yeah.
Luckily, Never had to report anything to the police. It was just the gun never came out. It was just a real quick action of he figured out I was armed and decided I wasn't the right target.
I'm
And
glad that you were able to save that woman and also save yourself. This is always conflicting in my mind, Greg. I'm going to speak up on that because holding a gun after seeing all the school shootings and all these teens carrying guns to school, I always wonder, do we really need that? But at the same time, situations like this, where personal safety is at risk, these are the actual reason why you're holding it because you're
right,
protecting yourself. So I'm conflicted with this all the time. So, what is the best way to keep the guns safe? And do we really need a gun that kills somebody? Can we not have something that just paralyzes them so we have some time to call cops and get him arrested?
right,
I always had this feeling, one human being taking the life of another human being is not something that I agree at any point of time,
yeah,
but I feel, but at the same time, you need to protect a gun. But if he knew that this gun may not kill him, would he have run away? That's another question. So it's always conflicting. So where do you stand in that? I know you're a personal safety trainer,
yeah,
and for people like me, I'm like that one of those people who you described that I'm in my own world. I don't observe. My husband observes a lot better than me, but I'm in my own zone, just taking care of my daughter, just go and point to point. Um, so in that, how do I train myself to do? In fact, I don't even have pepper spray in my handbag because I feel if I try to do that pepper spray when in a panic mode, I might spray on myself. I used to joke
right,
with my husband, unless I practice. Even if I practice, when I panic, I don't know what I'm doing. It's
right.
just somebody has to be prepared. That is why you need to be trained to do all of that. I think as a normal person, a common person, we don't even think about it on a day-to-day basis unless something goes wrong around you, right? You see a news and then you kind of try to do certain things to prep yourself, and then once the heat is down, you're back to your normal self where you're not caring about it. So that is where I need your inputs. Like how people like me can integrate this safety into life.
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
Let me start off with guns aren't for everybody. It is a huge decision, as to whether or not a gun is going to be part of your personal protection plan. Uh, Once you pull a trigger, you can never take that back. It's one of the few decisions you can make in life for which there's no turning back.
Yep.
And every round that comes out of your gun goes somewhere. It may go into the bad guy, it may hit an innocent person.
Yes.
So, uh, one of the things that kind of concerns me is a lot of people purchase a gun, buy a box of ammunition, shoot it once, and then they just start carrying a gun. And they've never had any training, they're not proficient with it. That is probably worse than not having a gun,
Yep.
because you don't know how to retain it. You're not necessarily going to hit your target. It's not like the movies. It's not easy. And it's not a magic talisman that you just show and everybody flees.
Mhm.
It's not, you can't just fire one round necessarily and everything stops. Sometimes you got to follow that up with multiple. So, eh, getting training is really, really important. And at the place that I do training, we do classes for just women who have never touched a firearm before.
Mhm.
And it takes, a lot of them have fear of it. And you have to kind of help them get over that. It's just a tool. A gun is no different than a power drill or a hammer or anything else. It's all about the operator and, what they're doing with it. Once you get training with it and you're able to be competent with it, then it becomes by far the most effective self-defense tool there is. I mean,
Mhm.
there is no way that a small woman is going to defend herself against a 200 pound, 25-year-old man.
Right.
Just, it's not going to happen. But with a gun, now they're equals, or she actually has the advantage if he's not armed.
Mhm.
So it's a very, very effective tool, but you definitely need to have training in order to do that.
Mhm.
Uh, you talked about, school shootings and things like that. A school is what I refer to as an unarmed victim zone. We, for some reason, have these laws that say you can't bring a gun to a school. So people who would be capable of defending in a mass shooting type of attack, they're the type of people who follow the law, so they're unarmed. And that's why schools are a target. The people who decided that they're going to kill somebody are not worried about the sign in front of the school that says no guns here. So really, the if you look at mass shootings, the vast majority of them occur in places where you can't have armed citizens.
Hmm.
So you end up waiting for the police. In the vast majority of shootings, they only stop when someone with a gun shows up to stop it.
Hmm.
If it's a place where guns weren't allowed in the first place, then that person who shows up is the cop, and that's 10 minutes. So if you've had a shooting in an area where there's a lot of people, they're completely defenseless for 10 minutes, and there's just nothing you're going to do about that. There's a lot of states that are like, oh, we got to stop the mass shootings, so we're going to stop magazine sizes that are too big. We're going to only allow you to have 5 or 10 rounds in your gun, and that'll stop the mass shootings. No, it only takes a couple of seconds to change the magazine in the gun. And if you're the only one with a gun, there's nobody that's going to stop you from doing the mag change. So it's
Hmm.
not that those kind of laws don't work. But you'll notice that there's never a mass shooting at a shooting range. There's never a mass shooting at a police station. Yeah, anywhere that there's going to be guns, that's just not a target for a mass shooter. They're cowards, they don't want to get into a firefight. They want to be able to have unarmed victims. So
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
I would like to see schools become hard targets. I
Hmm.
would like to see uh, and a lot of places have said, oh well, we'll just station a police officer at every school. The problem with that is if you're the mass shooter, you know who to start with.
Hmm.
All you have to do is walk up and shoot that one guy in uniform, and now you've got the whole school to yourself until someone else arrives.
Yeah.
So if there's a teacher who maybe they're ex-military and they've had the training and they've got a concealed weapon, that all of a sudden changes the calculation because you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of my take on schools is guns are a fact of life. There's not a way to just wave a magic wand and make them go away.
Hmm.
It is far better for us to be prepared and able to defend ourselves. But
Hmm.
they're not for everybody. I really want to stress that people should get training and become competent with it. It's not an easy art. It's not super easy to just, okay, I can draw a gun and put
Hmm.
5 rounds into my attacker before they close the distance with a knife.
Hmm. I see. And some of the school shootings that have happened are handled by teens, right? And they're not even eligible to hold a gun. I'm
Right.
not sure how they got hold of a gun and make this decision of walking into a school and start doing this. So how do we prevent somebody getting an access to a gun they're not allowed to? For example, they take it from their parents, they're licensed to their parents, but they just grab and
Right.
take it to school, right? Maybe parents are not aware of what's
Uh,
happening.
realistically, you can't stop it. I mean, we can have laws about safe storage and things like that, but you're just not going to stop it. There's going to be some way that the kid gets to it. In the case of Adam Lanza, the school shooter in Connecticut, he
Mhm.
killed his mother and then got into the safe and got the guns.
I was thinking,
Yeah,
now
she
that,
had her guns locked up, right? But
okay,
he killed her and
okay.
then got the key and got into the
I see.
safe.
Okay. So what if I'm licensing the gun to a particular individual, like you have, and we take our biometrics, you only your fingerprints, like you should be able to operate and nobody else. I'm just throwing suggestions here. If we have a biometric authenticated gun that only the
Right.
person who is allowed to use that gun is accessing that. Nobody else can. Even if you have physical access to the gun, when you pull the trigger, it's going to authenticate if you're the right person, and then it won't even fire. Would that be something that anybody is considering?
Well, there's a couple of problems with that. The first is if you need a gun, you really, really need a gun, right? I mean, you're only going to use it when your life is at stake. You are
Hmm.
stopping a deadly threat to you or your family or your loved ones. What are the odds that there might be a glitch and that biometric doesn't work right? I mean, I
Mm,
have a biometric safe. Every once in a while, I put my thumb on it and it won't open. And you got to try it a couple of times. And there is
mm,
not time to do that when I've got 2 seconds to get my gun out and stop the guy.
mm.
So, yeah, the technology for biometrics is just not there.
Okay.
Secondly, all right, we're someplace and there's a mass shooting going on and a cop with a biometric gun gets shot and goes down.
Mm,
I can't pick up his weapon and use it to
mm,
stop it, right? Because
mhm,
it's only useful to him. So it becomes a lot more dangerous when we say, oh, it should only be able to use by one person. So my wife can't use my gun. It can only be
mm,
keyed to me. What if she needs it?
mhm.
So it's one of those things that sounds good, but in reality just wouldn't work very well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I cannot imagine a way that you could build a biometric that you couldn't just take it apart and disable it, right?
Mm,
I mean,
mhm,
guns are not that complicated.
mhm,
You can disassemble them. You can 3D print a gun.
mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
so it's whatever mechanism you put on it, you can just take it apart and take away the that interlock, replace it. And then even if we had that law, there's only about 300 million guns in operation, in the
Mhm,
US right now already.
mhm.
So if somebody wants to,
Okay.
they just grab one of the old ones.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think with anything there are pros and cons. Um, I was just thinking if we can prevent even a child
Yeah.
picks up the gun.
Well,
I've read news that a baby has picked up a gun and shot the
yeah.
parents, and the baby got impacted too. Stuff like that makes me always think, why don't parents just keep it safe? They don't
Yes.
think a baby would
Why did
grab
a
it, a
parent why
2-year-old
did a parent
baby.
leave why did a
Yeah,
parent leave a gun where a baby could get to it? That's,
yeah, right.
extreme. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a different time, but when I was in high school, we went hunting after school. We brought guns in our cars,
Mm-hmm.
and there was never a case of school shootings. It was just not a thing. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, school shootings really didn't start until the late 1990s, with Columbine. That was kind of the first one where that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably the biggest thing that we could do to stop them would be for the media to never mention the name of the shooter,
Oh, how
right?
is that gonna help? Like, just knowing that a
Because
shooting
they're
has
do
happened.
because they're doing it as copycats. It's a way to get famous. Your
Oh,
name goes down in history. We all know the name Adam Lanza, right?
okay.
It's if we would just not glorify it by, not really glorify it, but not talk about who the shooter was, that
Mm-hmm.
takes away a lot of the motivation for it. But there's
Oh,
just a lot of other things broken in our society that teenagers think that shooting up a school is some sort of option, right? It used to not be the case. So
okay.
there's other things that are broken that we need to
Okay.
fix.
Okay. I was thinking it is always some kind of a frustration, or they're not included in the society, or they can't see others staying happy. And those are the motivations where they
Well,
just go and do
yeah, well,
certain things.
I was a computer nerd in high school. I was on the debate team. It just, but me or none of my friends ever thought about shooting up a school. It just wasn't the case.
Yeah, yeah, of course. All right, we spoke a lot about guns. You also talked about the financial safety. Let's move on to the
Yeah,
financial safety. And I
yeah,
really like this use case that you brought up the other day when we were connecting about the checks. Don't send your checks in mail. Let's talk a little bit about that and how to use the credit
yeah,
cards, the financial safety as such.
yeah. People often don't think about this, but a handwritten check is the least secure way that you can make a payment today. Uh, there is a huge industry of people intercepting checks in the mail. That is,
Mhm.
you put it in your mailbox and put up the little flag. Well, that just tells people, hey, there's stuff in the mailbox. They grab through it. They look, oh, look, this might be a bill payment. So they
Mm.
just grab that and go. What do they have now? They have your bank account number, so you can do all sorts of fraud. They have all the information on the bill, which is great for identity theft,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have the ability to take a check and literally laser burn off the ink from the check. So
Mm-hmm.
change the amount in the recipient and then cash that check. And that is a big problem
Yeah.
that is going on. So my advice that I teach is first, pay online if you can.
Mm-hmm.
People have this idea is, oh, it's not secure. It is the absolute most secure to
Mm-hmm.
do it online, right? I mean, you know, so many of us have invested so much of our lives in making that stuff secure. It is so much better than putting paper checks in the mail.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, that's the best way to do it. Uh, if you can't do that, and like I have like one vendor that requires that I send a check to them, which
Mm-hmm.
just bugs me, but
Okay.
I take it to the post office and drop
Mm-hmm.
it off there.
Mm.
Luckily, it's only a quarterly type payment, but
Okay.
uh, yeah, drop it in the mailbox at the post office. The big blue mailboxes out on the streets, people can get into those too. In fact, there was a case where somebody was caught and they had 30 keys from those, postal boxes, and they were just going grabbing the mail out of those
Mm-hmm.
postal boxes and
Mm-hmm.
grabbing the checks out of it. So
Yeah.
those are not secure. Take your check to the post office, but don't do that. Another one's credit cards. Yeah, everybody goes up to the gas pump and just swipes the card on the pump. The problem with that is there's kind of an arms race going on. Of they can People can put on credit card readers, skimmers on the device itself, and when you insert the card, it grabs all the information off that card, so they can then turn around and start buying stuff on Amazon or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Uh, so you need to be able to recognize those skimmers, but they're getting more and more sophisticated. What
Mm-hmm.
I suggest is first use tap to pay instead
Mm-hmm.
of a swipe, because that
Mm-hmm.
actually is secure. It's
Mm-hmm.
contactless payment. But
Mm-hmm.
even better, pay via an app. Like I use the Exxon Mobil app, and I've got an Exxon station near my house, and I can start the transaction while I'm in my car with the doors locked, then just get out and put the pump in and I'm out of there. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that time where you're standing in front of the pump, you know,
Yeah.
playing with the credit card, being vulnerable. You just get out of the car, start your fill, and then go on alert.
Yeah.
So it's just a much more. And now I've got a record of where I bought gas and all that information is right there in the app. So it's
Mm-hmm.
useful. And they
That's
give me
wonderful.
back 5 cents a gallon. So
Yeah.
that's cool too.
That's good. That's good. Let's move on to digital security because this financial security is kind of tied up with digital security too,
Right.
because you're suggesting that you use online to make the payments. One of the situations that I know that one of our friends, she was a single mom and she was buying a home, and for paying the down payment, she got a link and she paid a few $100,000 hard-earned money,
Yeah.
and she lost all of them. And it was a very authentic email sending, hey, we are in the process of getting your money, everything, information is there, so she really got surprised that it was actually a scam because it looked so real, and she got hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of dollars. And she did file a complaint, but there was no way it was traceable for some reason, so she never got her money. So how do we prevent such things happening digitally?
All right. So a couple of things. First, email scams have gotten super sophisticated, and I blame AI. Right? You can literally point an AI at a website and say, "Make me a copy of that website," and it will give you
Hmm.
something that looks pretty good. So you
Yep.
can do the same thing, and if you want to create an email that looks like it came from Citibank,
Hmm.
you can do it.
Hmm.
Especially given the amount of money that's at stake. Uh, so my first rule is never click on a link in an email unless you are absolutely certain of its source,
Mm.
right? So an email internal at my company, that would be okay, right? I'm not too worried about that. An email from my wife that's talking about something that we just talked about, okay, I'll probably
Mhm.
believe that. But that's
Okay.
about it, right?
Mm.
uh, Always, like if you get an email from your bank and it says, "Hey, we're doing this transaction. Click here." Okay, go to your bank's website and look to see if that how to do that transaction, but don't do it from the email because you can't necessarily be sure.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of things they can do to make it look like, oh, I'm just I hover over the link and it looks like it's going to the right place. Well, I saw one that kind of scared me. It's like, wow, I'd fall for that. Um, it was a link to Citibank, but they used a Cyrillic A for the A
Oh,
in bank.
wow, that was smart.
Just a little bit of difference in the font, right? And it's
Mhm.
small, so you're not
Yeah,
really necessarily going to pick that up,
right,
but that's a different domain, right?
right.
And they could very easily do things like that, or it'll just have a slight misspelling or something like
Hmm.
that. So the
Hmm.
safest thing to do is just go check it out on the site. And that's true of just about every phishing scam you'll get. Like
Hmm.
there's one going around that purports to be from PayPal. The email looks exactly like PayPal trade dress, and it says you have received a payment request from so and so, and it's got a phone number and a PayPal link to click on.
Hmm.
You get that email, and you're like, I don't recognize that. What's going on? This must be a scam.
Hmm.
So you click on the link, and guess what? It was a scam,
Oh,
and you just
that
clicked
was
on
a
the
scam.
link. But
Yeah.
the thing that's part of every single scam is urgency. They
Hmm.
try to scare you in some way so that you act quickly and stop thinking about it. Uh, in this particular one, there's a phone number. Now, how is there a phone number to PayPal? Do they actually do that? I've never heard of getting direct customer support out of them. The
Hmm.
phone number takes you to a call center where they say, okay, give me the transaction number. And
Hmm.
you tell them the transaction number and they look it up. And then they know, oh, yeah, that's from this person. They made a request of such and such.
Hmm.
And well, they sent you the email, so they can match the transaction number to which scam number they're working on, not right? But they
Okay.
fooled you into thinking that now you're talking to somebody at PayPal,
Hmm.
and they're like, okay, I can get in. I need your bank account number to verify. So you just gave
Mm.
them the bank account number over the phone, which is a really bad idea. Uh,
Yeah.
so again, if you had gotten that email from PayPal and you just went to the PayPal website and looked it up, you'd see there's no request for that. That was
Right.
a scam. But
Hmm.
they used a little bit of urgency and they got you to click because, hey, that was more convenient. I better clear this up right away because I don't want to get scammed. So
Hmm.
kind of a
So
little
if
reverse psychology.
hmm so if I summarize, uh, do not click on any link for payment in email, and verify, hover over and check the domain if it's
Yeah.
exactly the
I,
same.
I, I would go further and say I wouldn't click on any link in an email.
Okay, that's even
I
better.
mean, I just like, you don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so bad at anything, any email. It could be just, use that email as an advisory and then go to the website of
Okay.
what you're thinking it's from.
Okay, then let me rephrase. Do not click on any link in the email, your text messages. Go to the website directly. And
Right.
for the situation that I had mentioned, where you're sending a huge amount of money, then you can follow this process of sending a few cents first. Register the bank account, send few cents, and make sure that the actual recipient received those few cents. And next time when you transfer, do not add the bank account. The bank
Right.
account is already in there and it validated. Then use that to send you a bigger chunk of
Yeah.
money. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that you can do to save yourself, because if you lose, it's just few cents. It doesn't matter. But at least you've authenticated that you're sending to the right bank account. That's one thing I always do if I'm doing a big money transfer. But the other one is I hover over and check the domain name if it's coming from an authentic source. But I would have been cheated for the
Yeah.
A because I'm
Be
not a
easy
very
to,
good observer.
yeah, very easy to miss one letter.
Yeah, one letter that looks almost like A, right?
Right.
It's just a little bit of difference, and I wouldn't notice that. And these days in Facebook Marketplace, if let's say I am trying to sell something on Facebook, I've seen buyers reaching out to me. I want to know if you're an authentic seller. I'll send you a text message or something. Can you read that number back to me? I was wondering, how does it validate me as a valid seller? Then I knew it's a scam. That anytime somebody is asking you to
Yeah.
read a number that you got as a message, that is not an authentic way of validating you, right? It's
Right.
they're probably using some access to your bank account, or you're getting your one-time password, whatever it is, and you're sharing that with them. And in a different context, you don't even understand why they're
Yeah.
asking. So never read out anything, any information. Don't share your bank account number and all of that in a call. In fact, once I created an LLC for publishing one of my children's books, and I got a call from that LLC asking for a bunch of details. I said, you know what, I'll call you back. But how do I know that you're the authentic source? Can you send me an email while on the call from your LLC company? She said, yeah, I would send you an email. And she sent an email. Aruna, if you're on the call and this is where it is, I'm looking for this information. Only then I shared that information, just to make sure, because I'm receiving a call. I don't know if she's from
Yeah.
the actual company.
There's
Yeah.
another thing to think about that. If you're receiving a call,
Mm-hmm.
don't give out any
Yeah.
information until you call them at
Yeah.
a number that's visible at a trusted source,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah,
Mm.
they call you and they say, "Hey, I'm from your bank," and you say, "Oh yeah, well send me an email." Well,
Yeah.
they can fake the email, but if you say, "Oh, okay, I'll call you right back. What's your
Mm.
extension number?" And then
Mhm.
you call the number for the bank, on
Mhm.
their website. And if they've never heard of that person, then
Mm.
you're not authentic. But
Okay.
yeah, anybody who calls you and then wants a credit card number
Mm.
or an account number or anything, just don't trust that.
Mm.
And it's a shame because I mean, I get calls from charities that I know and they're like, "Hey, would you donate right now?" And I'm like, "I'd be glad to. I'll go to your website and donate. I'm not going to
Mm.
do it over the call." And like, I guess they missed the commission or something, but sorry, I'm not handing out my card.
Yeah. There are lots of scams, especially that they target old people because they don't know much of technology. And that's the initiative that you're doing, training them and making them aware of all of these
Right.
scams. And the reason why the person you were talking about was feeling embarrassed that she had to go through that is because she doesn't know that others are going through too. She thought it was
Right.
just her. I think bringing that awareness that you're not alone and there are other people and it's okay because it is high tech scams, right?
Right.
You don't
I've been
um
teaching these classes. It's like senior centers and things.
yeah.
Every single time when
Mm.
you like, I go through like, here's 20 different scams that we'll talk about. Every single time there's like, I know someone who fell for that, or I fell for that. Half the class has been hit financially
Mhm.
because they fell for something. It's not, you know, a rare event. It happens a lot. People just don't talk about it that much. So it's probably very underreported.
Mhm.
But it's a big deal. And the scammers are getting better. They're using AI to do deep fakes.
Mm.
So like I when I first started getting into this, I had a friend say, I just had the most weird thing happen. I
Mm.
got a phone call from my son and it
Mm.
sounded exactly like him. And he said
Mm.
that he had been picked up by the police and he was in
Mm.
jail and he needed $5,000 worth of Amazon gift cards in order to be out of jail, or he was going to spend the weekend in jail until he could,
Mm.
get in front of a judge.
Mm.
So I started trying to figure out how to get an Amazon gift card. And I talked to my daughter and she's like, he's right here.
Oh, okay.
They had a sample of his voice from, he probably did a TikTok video or something. They were able to do a deep fake of the voice and then call her with that voice. And they knew all about it because there's social media footprint. They know the name of her
Yeah.
son. They knew her name. They do a whole lot of stuff. And they put together a very sophisticated scam.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know something similar to that. It was a daughter, and mom and dad got the call from the daughter, from daughter's phone number, and I think she was asking for help. Someone has taken her, and she needs money, and
right.
she's crying, and they both got freaked out. And of course, all of these people say, "Don't go to police, and you just need to give the money," and just like that, while they were getting the money ready to give to those people, mom or dad try to send her a message just in case. And she responded very casually that she was at
Yeah.
school. And they had no idea what happened. And they called her back on that number. She said, "Why are you guys freaked out?" And they told her what happened. She was in shock too. So these deep fake and the AI technologies, as you said, yeah, it's super useful for humanity. At the same time, it's used in other cases too. As with any
Right.
scientific technology, it has its own benefits, and people do tend to exploit the benefits too. Wow, that was scary. I mean, just imagine you get a call from your daughter and crying,
Right.
and you know the voice, and it's I don't know what to believe or what not to believe anymore. So you need to be completely aware of what to do next.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
try to combat this, because the threat of AI is I built a little, online application that uses AI where you can give it a description of the scam or
Mhm.
copy an SMS or a phishing email or anything to it, and it will analyze it and tell
Mhm.
you advice as to whether or not it thinks that's a scam.
Mhm.
And I am shocked at how good it is. I just,
Mhm.
stuff that I get that might that looks like a scam, but I'm not sure. And then I'll enter it into the tool, and it'll
Mhm.
come back and say, "Oh yeah, it's well known as this type of scam."
That's very
Wow,
nice.
yeah, even I didn't know about that. Uh,
Okay.
there's a scam that's been going around locally here, and I think it's probably all around the country, but they got the name of a sheriff's deputy from the local sheriff's department.
Mhm.
They call people on the phone and say, "Hi, this is Deputy so and so with Gallatin County Sheriff's Department. You missed jury duty this morning."
Mm.
And like, "Well, I didn't have jury duty." It's like, "Yeah, we sent you a notice in the mail. Uh, you were due to be here at 8 a.m. Yeah, you didn't show up. There's a warrant for your arrest." The judge is
Oh.
quite unhappy.
Hmm.
Uh, it is a $500 fine, and if you don't pay it, we're going to come pick you up, and you'll spend the night in jail and be in front of the judge in the morning, and he may, give you an even greater fine. Oh no. Well, if you'd like, you can pay the fine. I just need you to give me an Amazon gift card number for
Mm.
$500, and then you can show up at court tomorrow without
Mhm.
having to spend the night in jail.
Wow.
People fall for
That's
that.
very convincing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
People,
there's always a chance that you would miss a mail, right? And jury duty is important.
yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, I worked in public safety software for about 10 years of my career. Let me assure you, if the cops have a warrant, they do not call you. They come and they give you a ride.
Okay.
You're going to get to go to a conference room. They're going to talk to you for a while, and then you get to stay in their hotel, which is not very nice. It gets a 1-star rating. But they
Okay.
do not call you and ask you to pay your fine.
And that too an Amazon gift card, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and they do not want
mhm.
to pay. And that's what all of these scams have in common. There's always some sort of urgency so that you won't think it through. You're afraid for your safety or something. You'll work quickly, and they want to get paid in a non-recoverable fashion. They want gift cards or Bitcoin or a bank
Mm.
transfer or cash or something like
Mhm.
that. They don't want a personal check. They don't want a credit card
Yeah.
number. They want to get paid in some way where you can't take it back.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is for citizens, right? I'll tell you something that we immigrants get. I'm on visa, and then sometimes I get a call. I'm calling from border security, and your SSN, we traced your SSN, and we found there are things that you did that you're not supposed to do in this country, blah blah, and then
Oh,
to pay fine. So we knew this was happening from one of our friends. This guy got a call, and this is exactly the script he heard, and he got freaked out because you're in a different country and it's from
yeah.
border security, and they speak like with authority. And he was about to send the money, and some of the colleagues, I think it might be a scam. Let's check it out, and then it was a scam. And we sent out an email to the rest of the folks. So if you're getting a call like this, then just don't bother about it. Just ignore. And I myself have got many border security, many SSN related, and I just cut the call. I don't even tell them. And mostly, they're not even coming from United States. They're coming from overseas, and they fake their accent as Americans. Sometimes we can identify the fake accents, stuff like that. They know who to target with what matter that is very sensitive to them. They know how to work with people. They are really great people at reading people's minds, like what will go through their mind
Right.
easily, right? We are not prepared. What will get to a mom, what will get to a senior, what will get to an immigrant. They know all of that, and then they tap into that
It,
weakness and exploit.
it is such a shame because these are obviously some fairly talented people coming up with this.
Right.
If they would put those talents towards something constructive,
Hmm.
think of what they could do. But instead, they're
Yeah.
spending their time thinking about how to hurt people. And
Yeah.
that's deeply disappointing. And that's kind of what motivates me is
Yeah.
let's stop this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get people educated because that's the best thing to
Yeah.
do is to educate people to not fall for it.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you're doing this. Maybe you can share the link to your app. I can add it to the YouTube link. It'll be
Yes,
super
I'll do that.
beneficial to everybody. So we covered three aspects. We'll quickly touch upon the operational safety that you were talking about, and then we can wind up.
Right. Okay. So operational safety is not putting out too much information about yourself. The one that I see the most is people are wide open on their social media.
Mm,
For instance, hey, we're having a great time in Mexico. I'm at the beach. Don't
mm,
you wish you were me?
okay.
Yeah. Well, you just told me your house is empty,
Mm,
right?
okay.
Or look at this wonderful diamond necklace my husband bought for me. Okay.
That's right.
Now I know there's valuables at your house.
Mm,
Uh, Here are my great children and their names and their ages and what school they go to. Isn't it wonderful that they, got this award?
mm,
You've just given out every bit of information about your kids,
mhm,
and to help out on scams.
mm.
Uh, the people who drive around with the bumper sticker on their car of the little stick figure family,
Yeah, yeah. You know who are in the
that tells
family,
you all about the family.
right?
Especially like, okay, it's a single woman with three children.
Mm,
Wow. Okay,
mm,
uh, the one that gets me is cars that say all that information, and then there's a bumper sticker that's anti-gun. Okay,
mm.
so I know that house is not armed.
Okay.
So, so it's really don't give out information about yourself. Don't broadcast it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, if you're going to post your vacation pictures, wait until you're home and then do your
Mm-hmm.
bragging, right?
Okay.
Don't, don't tell people that your house is now empty. Um,
Mm,
you know,
okay.
I wouldn't post pictures of valuables. People, post pictures. Hey, look at this new gun I just bought.
Mm,
Okay, I know there's a valuable gun at your house, and you're
mm,
not there all the time. So
mm-hmm.
those are
Yeah.
things not to do. Another part of operational security is documents.
Mm,
A lot of people will like take documents like bank statements and things and leave it on the desk in their house. Okay. Do you have a cleaning service? Because
yes.
they have access to your bank accounts. And all they need is a smartphone to take a quick picture of it.
Yep.
Or do you ever have a plumber come into the house to fix something and then you just ignore them and go off and do what you're doing?
Yep.
They have access to everything in your file cabinet if it's not locked.
Right.
Just your valuable documents should be locked away somewhere. If
Mm-hmm.
you have a home office and there's lots of confidential materials, well, that room should have a door with a lock
Mm-hmm.
where other people can't just come in and take a look at everything about your company.
Mm,
So that's an
okay.
operational security thing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things to deal with, and this is some advice that we give, is have a secret code word with your loved ones.
Okay.
Something really just you would never ever say in normal conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but that you could work it in so
Mm-hmm.
that like if you're dealing with the scam of, hey mom, I'm in jail, what's the code word?
Mm, okay.
Or uh, I'm being kidnapped and I've been called to tell my wife I've been told to call my wife and tell her everything is okay. So I might call her and say, hey, I just want to tell you I'm on my way home from the grocery store where I bought kumquats.
Mm,
She now knows something is really bad.
right.
So have some way to communicate like that
Some
and
way to
don't
communicate. Yeah.
have that, anywhere.
Okay.
Somebody
Just
wants to show up at school and say, yeah, we're going to Aunt Martha's party. I need to pick your kids up. here's the letter from parents giving me permission. Okay. Kid asks, what's the code word?
Mm. Okay. That's really nice. Yeah. I mean, those are great tips. We Indians have a way of decorating our home with some Indian stuff, like we hang,
Yeah.
mango leaves and stuff. So, and burglars can identify Indian homes, and they all know Indians love gold.
Yep.
And there was one of my own friends. She got burglars at home, and she lost all the gold. And another neighbor of hers also got burgled up, I think probably a couple of weeks down the line. And she had everything at one place within the locker, and somehow they broke into the locker and got it. But the other family was smarter than them. They did not keep it at one place, but they scattered gold all around the house in chunks. But they pulled out every single gold out of their home because they were using metal detectors, and they were identifying these Indian homes. They identify Indian parents who come here in summer because we all
Yeah.
have this Mangal Sutra, we call, which is like the golden chain we wear as a
Uh-huh.
representation of marriage, which every woman wears, and it's very, very auspicious for us to wear. We don't take them off. So you definitely have a piece of gold on every Indian woman, and they all get the chain snatched. So I sometimes I recommend my friends don't show any indication that you're an Indian. Just don't put out those decors. Just be
Yep.
careful, and don't ever keep any valuable inside your home. Just take it to the bank locker.
Right.
So all of that, yeah, I myself didn't think about it that much until this happened to my friend, and then I was like, okay, I'm not keeping anything at home. I'm just going to
Yeah.
go with
It
everything.
can get
Yeah.
a lot worse. I've got a good friend who's Indian, and he's got an unspecified amount of gold. I won't say how much. Uh, it's a lot.
Hmm.
And I said, it's really dangerous to have that in your house. He said, oh, I've got, a really, really good safe. There is no way anybody's getting into that. And I said, well, first, there's no such thing as a safe that you can't break into with enough time, especially since gold won't melt. So I could use a plasma cutter to get into that safe.
Hmm.
But even so, what if I show up when you're home
Hmm.
and I basically hold the gun to your wife's head and say, open the safe? What are you going to do? So
Hmm.
you're right. Don't have that level of valuables within your home. Keep it at a bank or something. Now, I understand that I don't trust anybody. I want to, have it. You better come up with a better way of hiding it than in plain sight inside a safe. Because the safe just says there's valuable stuff here. You know,
Hmm.
you,
Okay.
you can take a safe and okay, it's bolted to the floor. All I have to do is, hit it hard enough to break that and then just take the safe home and
Hmm.
work
Yeah.
on it, as long as I need to.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
there's nothing that you can't break into with enough time.
Yeah, these burglars didn't even change their strategy. They came in the same way. It's a open street, and they park the car, watch the
Yeah.
homeowners leave, and they just come through the back window, the French windows, which is easily breakable. They enter, go to the master bedroom directly, and then they find a safe and take it. They grab all the valuables on the way, whether it's branded bag or jewelry that was just lying down, all of that, just grab and leave before the owners come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and police couldn't find any of those people because with the mask on these days, it's just a hoodie and a mask on, with gloves. And they don't leave a trace of anything inside house. And I don't think that even now they were found. So she lost all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to be considering. Awesome. We are at time. Probably this is my longest podcast because there was a lot to talk about. There was a lot. And thank you so much, Greg. Wonderful talking to you. And please share your app. I'm pretty sure it's going to be super useful for many, including us. Yeah, we think young people are smarter, but you know what? We also make a lot of mistakes. So
Right.
we are going to be, yeah, we will make sure that this app is used in right way and prevent all those safety hazards that we encounter. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Great. Well, glad to talk to you.
Yeah, bye, Greg.